Welcome into the Betting Edge NFL opening line edition. I am Drew Martin stepping in for the Prez. Got big shoes to fill, but he's Marco D'Angelo. He'll hopefully help me out during the show. Marco, happy Monday morning to you, buddy.
Hey, Drew, good. How you doing today? Hope you had a good weekend and another week in the books and ready to head out there and dissect those opening numbers for this week.
Absolutely, breaking it down. The Week 6 openers, where the line's going. Maybe quick thoughts on what might be an early bet here. We'll try to accomplish on the Betting Edge Monday night, and of course we have the Monday nighter tonight. Marco, Cleveland at San Francisco, seeing the 49ers -5 at home, 47 the total. Any quick thoughts here? I think check out WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday might be something up there, right?
Yeah, I've got for myself, I've got my Monday night game of the month going, and you can check that out over at Wager Talk. And as you said, it's Monday, Drew. Every Monday at both Wager Talk and at Sports Memo, $9. Every pick on Monday. That's any game that's being played on Monday and any play, Drew, that's up already for the weekend. That means if somebody's got a 5% play up, that's a $40 play. You buy it today, it's just $9. You wait till tomorrow, that play is going to be $40. Why wait? Head over to Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Check it out. You can grab my Monday night game of the month for just $9.
I second that. $9 Monday is a great day of the week to check out both sites, wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. All plays discounted to just $9. We got the Thursday nighter here, Marco. You know, it's a moneymaker for the NFL, not necessarily the best product that the NFL is putting out. Either way, we got the Patriots hosting the New York Giants. Pats -17 or -16.5, depending where you're shopping right now. 44 the total in Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, the only one way the line's going to go in this one, Drew, and we saw from the opening line at the Westgate, you know, every week the Westgate brings out what they call the look-ahead lines, Drew, and it's a good indication of where you can get the overreaction to the market of what the public saw this week and how they adjusted the lines because they put the numbers out before last week's games are played. And of course, Sunday night, Monday morning, all the books bring out the numbers and they adjust them to actually what happened this weekend. So you go to that Giant New England game. The look-ahead line was 14. Now, I can understand that. Good number to put it at. Let the public decide, do we take this over the 2 touchdowns or under the 2 touchdowns? Well, given the results from yesterday, you saw the Patriots get another easy win, as they always do, it seems. And what an easy schedule they have had this season. I mean, has anybody had an easier schedule for being a Super Bowl champion the following year? And then you look at the Giants stock was up after those first 2 wins with Daniel Jones behind center, but they got a dose of reality yesterday whenever he actually faced a real defense as the Minnesota Vikings held him to 10 points. Consequently, what we see, line movement of 2.5 to 3 points, opened up 16.5. I'm seeing 17s already. I think 17's going to be the number that it hangs at. If it gets over 17, you'll see the sharps just bet a number and bet that 17.5. And if it goes back down to 16.5, I think the sharps will look at it under the 17. So I think we're going to be at the number we're going to be at. It'll be hanging right around that 17. You might get a half a point either way, but then whatever group is looking for that number is going to grab it right away and bring it back to the 17.
Good stuff, Marco. Starting it off there on the Thursday nighter. Going to the Sunday slate, October 13th Sunday. We got an early one here, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific here across the pond. We got the Carolina Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Looks like 48.5 the total, with the Panthers laying about 2.5 seems to be about the consensus number here. Carolina laying. Not on the road, Marco. I guess it's technically both teams on the road across the pond.
Yeah, it's technically a home game for Tampa, but yes, they're both across the pond. And Drew, this is one that, you know, I'm a little bit baffled at the line movement. I understand Carolina won yesterday, and I understand Tampa Bay lost. So from the Westgate look-ahead line of Carolina -1, we now have a 2.5. But if you remember last week, Tampa Bay was the game that everybody was betting like they had the final score already.
Yeah.
They gave no respect to the Saints and Teddy Bridgewater off that ugly Sunday night win, but it was a win. They only mustered 4 field goals in that game, but it was enough to get the job done, 12-10. And we saw that line all last week continue to drop on the Saints till it got down to 3, and Tampa, got beat. They were never really in that game. So I understand the line movement, but I don't know about you, Drew, but I love to see when the public runs from one side one week and they lose, and then they jump off the bandwagon, go to the other side the following week. You know what that usually happens. I always joke, be careful when you're jumping back over that fence.
Right.
You might get some of the family jewels caught on that fence when you're going over, switching sides there. And I think this is a perfect example of people just overreacting to 1 week. They jumped all over Tampa after the Rams game, and now they're jumping off them after the Saints game. So public caution here. I don't know that this is the right way to go with this move. I'd love to see it go another half a point and get to 3. I think I would get interested as soon as it would hit 3.
And Marco, just follow-up question, because it's in London. Do you think there's any extra value in betting these games over there for the sports bettor, or are you just kind of fed up with it and you don't want to kind of look in and invest more into these games on the other side of the pond?
I don't get excited about these games, to be honest with you. It's a situation, if I have a really good angle, something else that, maybe from practice reports, things that I'm getting during the course of the week, or maybe how teams are doing their preparation, or even their travel schedule of how they're going to London, when they're going, something like that. But I'm not a big fan of these games, especially the ones that start at 6:30 our time. Now, you being a Las Vegan, you got to get up and watch football at 6:30 a.m., Drew, or are you just going to be coming in from the club?
No, not I can't pull those nights anymore. But that's not to say I'm up at 6:30 a.m. catching the London game each and every Sunday. So no, I'll watch usually the second half when I'm up watching. I guess taking some coffee, getting ready for the main slate on Sunday. But no, I'm not like setting my alarm like kickoff in London. Like I guess some people are, at least Carolina and Tampa Bay fans there. Marco, we got Cincinnati at Baltimore up next. Looks like 11. The Ravens laying at home. There is an 11.5 at Chris right now. 48.5 the total, Marco.
Yeah, this is another one. Moved big number from the Westgate look-aheads. Baltimore was 8.5, and after yesterday, Baltimore looked good in winning, not great. Pittsburgh got a quarterback knocked out of the game again and had to go with a third-string quarterback that was, basically signed off of the practice squad a few weeks ago after Big Ben got hurt. And that same week that Big Ben got hurt, the Steelers had traded away Joshua Dobbs, so they didn't have their third-string quarterback. Mason Rudolph got his bell rung yesterday. I mean, he was out before he hit the ground. With the hit that he took, he immediately went limp and didn't move at all. But we'll talk more about that when we get to the Pittsburgh game. Bottom line is Baltimore got the job done. The stock dropped on them the week before, as bad as they looked at Cleveland, to go on the road, get a win in Pittsburgh after Pittsburgh looked so impressive on Monday night. This is one of those games where I'm going to pull out a little angle for the listeners, Drew. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this one, but I call this the ABC effect. And the public is going to look and say, okay, Team A, the Pittsburgh Steelers, beat Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Everybody saw that. They just trounced them. Now, Team B, Baltimore, beat Pittsburgh. So now Team B, Baltimore, is playing that common denominator, Team C, Cincinnati, in a game that, if you look at comparable stats, if Pittsburgh could slaughter Cincinnati and Baltimore can beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, well, doesn't simple math say Baltimore should slaughter Cincinnati? And that's why people are going to run and take the Baltimore side. And we saw the line go from 8.5 to 11. We also saw Cincinnati lose at home to the Arizona Cardinals. They made a gallant rally late to tie it up and send it into overtime. but then they lose to or actually didn't go to overtime, did that when they got it at the end of the game. Arizona got the game-winning field goal, but they did tie it up. Looked like we were going to go to overtime. The stock is so far down on Cincinnati. Be careful with that. Games aren't as easy as they look. That was a big game for Baltimore last week, beating Pittsburgh. Cincinnati, they're a desperate team, winless on the season. And they're getting too many points here. I think if I get involved with this game, I would have to look at Cincinnati, but God, are they ugly right now. And I actually tweeted out yesterday, Cincinnati fans, how you feeling about Marvin Lewis now? You miss him? Because they might have been mediocre, but they weren't atrocious like they are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about A plus B equals C in this matchup. We got Seattle at Cleveland. Cleveland, the Browns laying 2 seems to be the consensus number here, Marco. Although limited marketplace with the Browns playing tonight. What are your thoughts here with Seattle at Cleveland?
Yeah, but not a lot to say on it because a lot of my handicap's going to come out of what we see tonight. Okay. The Monday night football games, the public overreaction or underreaction is always fun to deal with. We know that the teams that look horrible on Monday Night Football, the world just saw that. If Cleveland comes out of tonight's game looking bad, then we might have some extra value in Cleveland. So I'm going to just take a pass right now and see what happens on tonight's game. Seattle, extra time to prepare, advantage for them coming off the Thursday night game, facing a team that had to play a Monday night game on the West Coast, travel back home. I just don't understand, Drew, how the NFL can continue to make a schedule where the schedule benefits one team so much more than the other. There's no way that a Thursday night team that actually played at home on Thursday night should be playing a team that had to play on Monday night and play it on the road. That's such a huge disadvantage to the Cleveland Browns. We got computers that can figure these schedules out. You got to come up with a little better way to protect some of these teams. I think it's an unfair advantage for Seattle, and that's something that is built into the line. But let's see what happens tonight if we get anything else where we can look at.
Okay, so Marco, you would actually recommend waiting no matter what? Like if you like the Cleveland side, don't bet it now because depending on what the outcome is tonight, would you say in this situation pretty much always wait till the end of the game?
Yeah, this one on tonight with Cleveland, unless Cleveland goes in there and blows out San Francisco, how are you going to see a worse number than minus 2.5 on Cleveland? I don't think this line goes to 3. Because, the Seattle effect is a dog. If anything, if you do like Cleveland, I think you have a good shot of this number coming down. If they play a mediocre game, given all of the things that I just talked about, the line, in my opinion, is more likely to drop than go up.
Makes a lot of sense. He's Marco D'Angelo on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. Check out his play. Great day to check out the site. Not just $9. All plays discounted. Marco has one up tonight on the game, Monday Night Football. Also check out sportsmemo.com for discounted $9 plays across the website. We got Houston at Kansas City up next, Marco. Looks like the Chiefs -5 in Arrowhead, 56 the total.
Yeah, a couple things to say about this game. Last night, Chiefs obviously did not look good. Indianapolis played their guts out. Great performance by them. You could see Pat Mahomes hindered with that ankle injury. Wasn't the same quarterback in the second half. Took a real beating in the first half. And let's give it to Indianapolis. They had a great game plan. Will other teams start to copy that? It is a copycat league. They saw, a couple of the teams that had success against Kansas City last year. And of course, New England, what they did in the playoff game last year against them. But still, it's hard to hold down this Kansas City offense. Let's see what happens throughout the course of the week. Get some updates on that ankle for Mahomes. Make sure he's 100%. But I will tell you this much. Looking at the game, I liked Indianapolis yesterday. We did that game on the Bet On It show, as we always, break down the Sunday night games and the Monday night games. And I said that this was a spot where Kansas City, I think, was going to look a little bit past Indianapolis. In Indianapolis last week, I feel, got caught looking ahead to this one, and that's what happened in the Oakland game. This is a spot where Houston coming in here, I think they're going to get the full focus from Kansas City, and I think Kansas City can get the job done. Houston, Deshaun Watson, big game yesterday. But Drew, the Atlanta Falcons are a train wreck right now. I don't know what's wrong with this team, so don't put too much stock in that one. My initial reaction would be to look at Kansas City in a bounce back mode here. We'll see what transpires during the week. But again, you cannot make a play on this game without 100% knowing the condition of Pat Mahomes.
Next game up, we got New Orleans leaving the Big Easy, heading to Jacksonville. Looks like we got to pick them. You can also find one on each side, depending on where you're shopping. 44.5 the total. This is an interesting handicap here, Marco. We got New Orleans, backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of kind of tricky handicap there. And then, of course, Jacksonville. We got the backup quarterback as well with a mustache. I don't like going against them, but how do you feel here in New Orleans versus Jacksonville?
The stash at home.
Oh, yeah.
Gardner Minshew. Hey, you know what? He didn't play bad yesterday. It was a situation. They did have a couple turnovers, but I'm impressed with the numbers that he's been putting up. But, Drew, this is the second half of that overreaction game. The opening number on this was Jacksonville -1. As you said, we're seeing pick is the consensus number, but we are seeing some rogue ones both ways. The one I think is going to end up on the New Orleans side. I think they're going to end up being the favorite in this game. And all those people that were jumping off the New Orleans bandwagon last week, jumping on that Tampa Bay bandwagon, well, now they're jumping back on the Saints bandwagon after them winning yesterday and Teddy Bridgewater having a good game. Let's just, pump the brakes a little bit. Having a good game against the Tampa Bay defense is not anything to write home about. This is a totally different animal going up against the Jacksonville defense and playing at home in a game they need badly. I think this is a dangerous spot for New Orleans. I think if you like Jacksonville, sit back and wait. I think the number's going to go to the New Orleans side, and you're going to get a better number later in the week. And I would love to see this thing get to the Saints at 1.5, where then it creates also a situation for us where we could tease Jacksonville up over that touchdown, because I do like Jacksonville getting over a touchdown and a teaser at home. So I'm going to be watching this one, and this is one of those ones where you sit there and look at your screen, wait for the right number, and then you hit the click button. I'll be looking to the Jacksonville side.
Point of entry into the market, always important, especially in the NFL with these tight markets. We got Philadelphia at Minnesota up next. The Vikings laying 3 at home, 43.5 the total, Marco.
Yeah, this one, I don't have an opinion yet on this game. It's one of the premier games of the week. The public doesn't have an opinion either. The look-ahead line was 3. The current line is 3. You've got Philadelphia. Everybody's going to look, okay, yeah, they blew out the Jets. I had a play on the Jets yesterday, full disclosure. I thought it was a bad scheduling spot for Philadelphia. That one being sandwiched in between the Green Bay road victory on Thursday night and then this one coming up against Minnesota. Philadelphia didn't put up big numbers. I know they put up big points. They had 2 defensive touchdowns that make that game yesterday look a lot worse than it actually was. The bottom line was the Philadelphia defense did not get tested in that game. The Jets offense was just absolutely trash, even with the extra week to prepare, which I also thought was an advantage to the Jets in that game. Turned out not to be. I'm on the fence here. Kirk Cousins, you know where I stand with him. When he faces a team that he can dominate and they can run the football against, like yesterday when I was on Minnesota Big, he's a good quarterback. But when they can't run the football and he's got to carry the team passing by himself, that's when I don't like Kirk Cousins. They should be able to run the football against Philadelphia. This is a tough scheduling spot for Philly. 2 road games in the last 3. They've been on the road more so this season. This is a spot where I want to pull the trigger on Minnie, but I'm not just there yet. I don't think you have to worry about the line. I think this is going to set at 3 most of the week.
Marco, next game up, we're heading to South Florida, Miami Gardens.
No, we're not. I want nothing to do with this game other than the fact, I mean, this is, Drew, let's be honest. First of all, they're 2 very bad football teams. If you want to talk about the scheme of things, who wants to win this game? Do you really want to win this game? Because the team that loses this game has the inside track then to the number 1 draft pick.
Well, I'll let you finish. I'll follow up quickly.
Okay. We know Miami's a train wreck. We know Miami needs a quarterback. I don't think, the trade for Josh Rosen in the offseason, I just didn't understand it. I get it, taking a flyer. They got him for next to nothing. He was a number 1 draft pick. And, if a change of scenery helps, then, hey, you got a great pick. But Miami's going to be looking for a quarterback, in my opinion. And if they want that number 1 pick, this is a game they don't want to win. Do I want to bet a game where I'm not sure if the other team really is going to play to win? Washington, they're bad, but they're not supposed to be this bad. They fired Gruden. Who didn't see that coming? When you do your press conference after a game and you open up with when somebody asks you about your job security, he says, well, I guess I'll find out if my key works on Monday, if I get into the building. Well, you know what? I guess the key didn't work. Okay.
That's actually a good response.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a total shit show in Washington right now. But this is a prideful organization. I don't know that they want to really tank. So if you put a gun to my head with a coaching change, generally that sparks players. But this is a game. There are a lot better games on the schedule that you could be playing with. It's Washington or pass, and it's going to be most likely a pass. To talk about the overreaction to what's happening, the look-ahead line on this game was 6.5. Washington 6.5. We're looking at Washington at 3.5. Both teams sucked last week. Did one not suck as bad to justify the 3-point difference? You tell me.
Probably not. It's probably an overreaction here, and we know that happens in the NFL. I guess something that comes in here because, the whole tanking. This is the tanking bowl. Yeah. And I don't think we're to the level, I'm pretty sure we're not to the level that the NBA is, Marco. And in terms of, one player tends to not matter as much. I know it's towards the quarterback position, so it kind of does more so in the sport of football. But, I mean, how much do you think the actual players and coaches who, keep in mind, they have a contract, they want to play well, they want to get their tackles, they want to get their receptions for next year, their future value of them personally, are they actually tanking and like Miami not wanting to win these games, in your opinion?
That is the question. The big problem. You look at the way they've played. You look at the product they've put on the field. They're not close to winning. Now, with Washington, with the angle that you're saying there, you got an interim head coach that is auditioning to keep that job. So does he want to tank? Hell no. Okay. No. So if to me, if you're going to try to look for a motivational edge, there's definitely more of a motivational edge with the Washington organization. The Miami organization, if you fired your head coach from last year and went out and hired somebody else, and you know that your team sucks when you did that, you would think the job security's there with the head coach at Miami, that in theory he should get a few years to try to fix the things. But we've seen last year, Arizona, one and done for the head coach there. That's something you never saw in the NFL before, where coaches get hired and get fired after 1 year. Until Fangio got the win yesterday, for Denver, there was talk about him being maybe a one and done because Denver was such a disappointment. So Callahan's going to want to go out there and he is a guy that's been a head coach before, want to make a good impression. I mean, it's his resume for whether or not he even gets the job at Washington or not. He's auditioning for where his next job would be, because the new coach that comes in, if he doesn't get the job, generally brings all of his own people in, and the old coaching staff is SOL, shit out of luck. And so he's working on his resume. So I think the motivational edge, if that's what you're going to look for, definitely on the Washington side.
Good stuff, Marco. We got San Francisco at the LA Rams up next. And, of course, limited marketplace here with San Francisco playing as well. 49 the total, seeing 4.5 or 5. That's the Rams laying at home.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones, again, until you get to see the result and how this team plays tonight. San Francisco, the last time we saw them, they put up some yardage, but they also had 5 turnovers in the game, and that's what kept the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game. They really should have blew the Steelers out of the ballpark the way they were moving the football in that game. Let's see what they do tonight against the Browns. The Rams, this is, 2 weeks in a row, they come up with losses, playing the Tampa Bay game. I understand it. It was a sandwich spot for them with Seattle on deck for a Thursday night game. They did everything but win that Thursday night game. They really should have won that game, and they didn't. It was a bad spot for them, missing the field goal at the end of the game. But what cost them was at the beginning of the game, they had 2 good drives early in the game and settled for field goals. Drew, how many times have you been there where, your team goes up and down the field and you're sitting there with a 6-0 lead?
I know.
I was lucky. I was fortunate to get that +1.5 and get that cover in that game. But, the writing was on the wall. I said, I'm going to lose this game. This is going to come back to haunt me. And we got away with it. But this Rams team, the defense is bothering me this year. Their defense, they get good pressure on the quarterback, but too many times Seattle was making plays on 3rd downs. Got to get off the field on 3rd down to win in the NFL. And that's my concern. We'll see how Jimmy G and company do tonight. A big Monday night win from the 49ers might give them some confidence going into the Rams. But I can tell you this much, McVay's not happy. It'll be a tough week of practice this week after blowing the game on Thursday night. Extra days to prepare. Everything's lining up for the Rams to perform well. And they remember the last time they played. We talk about there's no home field advantage for the Chargers or the Rams in LA with the stadiums and that. But this is a situation where they were just god-awful ugly in their last home game. I would think the Rams are going to come out focused and ready to play. It's a big game for them. I don't have an opinion yet till we see the Monday night game, but I know you're going to get a big effort from the Rams next week with the extra days to prepare.
All right, we got a 105 Pacific kick here, 267-268. Atlanta Falcons at the Arizona Cardinals. Seeing what the opener was 3, now it's all the way down to 1.5 here. The Falcons laying on the road, 52 the total, Marco.
Yeah, this is one, Drew, I'm going to tell you this much. It's warranted as far as the move from the Westgate openers because Atlanta, they got trounced again yesterday. Their defense gave up 50-plus points. Now they're going on the road playing a team that got their first win, rookie coach, rookie quarterback, beat a Cincinnati team that's bad. So a lot of people are going to, dispel that, and they're going to look at this, and as bad as Atlanta's played, when you look at Matt Ryan and you look at all of the weapons that they have, they're going to look at this game and they're going to say, I just got to pick the winner. They're going to jump on Atlanta here blindly, in my opinion, just because of the name and the marquee players on that team. That might be dangerous. We know Vegas doesn't give out many free lunches, okay? And the fact that this number went down from 3 to 1.5, and the public's going to say, hey, pick the winner. I don't have to worry about the point spread. I think you're going to see some Atlanta money, even as bad as they've been. Now, I'm going to say Atlanta money from the average Joe. I don't know that the pros are going to show up on that side. This could very well be one of those pros versus Joes games where John Q. Public's on Atlanta, but the Sharps are on Arizona. That win's going to give Arizona some confidence. I don't know that I want to be involved in this game. Atlanta is supposed to beat Arizona. If they lose to Arizona, you might see the second firing of a coach this season. Dan Quinn, we've gone from just a couple years removed from a Super Bowl to a disaster of a season to start. And if they lose to Arizona, I don't know. They got to make a move. They have to do something to right the ship there. So be careful with this one. I don't see this line moving much. I don't see it getting back to 3, but yet I can't see this line getting down to a pick 'em either. So no need to rush to get to this number unless you're, if you do like Arizona, I think the line goes back up later in the week when the public gets involved.
Good breakdown there, Marco. And it's kind of a tricky handicap in the sense, like the investment slogan, you don't want to catch a falling knife, kind of trying to jump in here on the Falcons at a short number. So I'm with you. This is kind of a tricky one on really how to price point this. We got Dallas at the New York Jets up next. Looks like the Cowboys consensus number 8.5 or 9, mostly 9s in Vegas, 8.5s offshore right now as we're talking on Monday morning. That's the Cowboys laying on the road, 43.5 the total in MetLife.
Yeah, and the key to this game, Darnold was cleared to practice last week, wasn't able to play. Yeah. Jets are not decided yet on a quarterback. You cannot play this game until you know who's quarterbacking. And the problem, if Darnold comes back, obviously the Jets offense is going to have an immediate upgrade, but he's also missed 4 weeks. How sharp is he going to be? I mean, he was sick. All right, he couldn't practice. So that the stars don't play, don't practice, don't play much in the preseason. He played that first game. He had a horrible game against Buffalo. We know why, because of the mono, and then he's been out ever since. So even if he comes back, caution on the Jets, but it will be an upgrade. Dallas, I don't know what's wrong with them right now. They've got injuries to the offensive line. That's definitely a big problem. If Zeke can't run the football, that puts too much pressure on Dak. And I'll tell you what, when they go in for negotiations on that contract that he wants, don't show us the first 3 weeks when he played 3 of the worst defenses in the NFL. Show us the last 2 weeks when he absolutely sucked against the Saints and yesterday against Green Bay. Yeah, they made a run late, but you know how that is when NFL teams have big leads, Drew. They go into the prevent defense. You can pad those stats and make it look like you had, a good day. When the game counted in the first half, it wasn't a good day for Dak Prescott. So this is a game I don't know that I can get involved with. I'll re-look this game later in the week when we have an idea on Darnold. And then another good thing to do with things like this, and this is just a tip to people out there, follow beat writers on Twitter for certain teams. Go on Twitter and search Jets and writers. And when you find guys covering the team, watch and see what they're saying. Read their tweets, read their columns in the newspaper, and see how, Darnold looks in practice if they do name him the starter and how he's, been practicing, because that's a key to this game. But for me right now, nothing there. Where this line goes, I think that this is a number that's set right now where Vegas wants it to be. It has to be over a touchdown. I think it also has to be under 10 points. The reason it's not sitting at 7.5 and it's sitting at the 8.5 and the 9 that's out there limited is it's a teaser blocker. At 9, you can't use a 6-point teaser to get it under the key numbers. You have to use a 6.5-point teaser or a 7-point teaser where you're laying extra juice to do so. That's one thing that bettors have to understand when they see numbers at that 8.5 and 9. It's a smokescreen. It's a preventative, preemptive strike to slow down Dallas teaser money is all it is. We'll see later in the week when we know who's quarterbacking and when the real money starts to show up where this number should be at. But I think it's at the right spot right now.
Great analysis there from Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas on Twitter. Teaser breakdowns and everything. We got Tennessee at Denver up next, Marco. Looks like the Broncos laying 2.5 a mile high. Lowest total on the board here, just 38.5.
Yeah, this is a spot where Tennessee, couldn't get anything done at home against a Buffalo Bills defense that, very sneaky, is one of the better defenses that doesn't get talked about. I mean, the Bills fly under the radar because they're in that division with the Patriots. So Tennessee now's got to go play in the altitude at Denver. Denver got a much needed win. But I'll tell you, you look at the opening number at Westgate, the look ahead, it was Denver 1. Understandably, at that point, Denver had not won a ball game. Tennessee was playing well, but now the reaction from yesterday's games, Denver got a much needed win. Now they're back at home, carry the momentum home. Tennessee stock drops a little bit off of the loss to Buffalo and only scoring 7 points in the game. But as I said, going up against a really good defense. The Denver defense is good too. Not as good as Buffalo's, but as you see, we've got a 38.5, 39 on totals. There's one 38.5, and that is at Westgate. Every place else is at 39. I'm looking right now as we're speaking. Just a couple minutes ago, at Chris offshore went to 38. I can tell you this much, Drew. On a Monday, when you're seeing action on a total and you're seeing action on an under, it is not John Q. Public doing that, okay? No. They're not betting totals for Sunday on Monday. This is sharp action. They like the under in this game. So with that said, I'm going to tell you, if you like the under, I would get involved in this game now while there's still some 39s out there. With this low total and with the number that we have, Drew, this is the plus EV teaser. You tease Tennessee up to 8.5. You go through all of the key numbers of the 3, the 4, the 6, and the 7 on a 6-point teaser. And because it is a low total, is telling you points are going to come at a premium in this game. So getting Tennessee over a touchdown is obviously the way to go in this game. If you're going to bet this game early, that's the move. Take Tennessee at 2.5. Tease them up to 8.5, and there's some other ball games that you can look at to maybe add a team to the teaser. Obviously, one of those other teams would be the Seattle game that we talked about, with Seattle looking at the getting plus 2.5. You can get them to 8 on a 6-point teaser. Do you really trust Cleveland, even if they have a good showing tonight, to get big separation on Russell Wilson in Seattle, a team that just keeps coming at you and coming at you? 8 points would look very tempting. If anything out of today's show, that's where I would give the viewers, jump on a teaser early. You might be hearing about this teaser later on Wednesday on the Bet On It show, when we do a teaser segment each week on that show.
Yeah, Marco, that's next level analysis, man. Great stuff there. Tennessee, Denver, looking to tease it. I actually have a question for you, and admittedly, I'm not a big teaser better, just because in the NFL, I like to bet it, watch it, but in terms of most of my concentration is on the college ranks. In terms of teasers, you broke that down with it being a low total, therefore the tease, the move mattering more, which I think most people will follow, and it makes sense. Do the sports books charge you more for that? Like, let's just say this total was 56 instead of 39. Would there be a different price there?
No, each book has their own price on teasers. And okay, right now in Vegas, you can get from minus 120, which is the best number on a 6-point teaser in Vegas, to some books charge you minus 130 and minus 135, because teasers for sharp players are plus EV plays. That is the one bet in the NFL that Vegas books fear, are teasers. They get a lot of exposure, and to charge more per game based on the total would make sense, juicing something, but they just have their standard numbers. But that is a good point to, bring out. The fact that when it's a low total, it is definitely better to tease in a low total, because points are at a premium when you're teasing those small dogs to over a touchdown. You lose a little bit of your plus EV variance when you have a high total, when you got a total in the 50s, Drew, because we're telling you that the frequency of scoring is going to be more in this game. So if there's going to be more scores, there's a bigger chance of having a 10 to 14 point margin than to have a 7 or less point margin. So generally, yes, if you're teasing, the lower the total, the better it is for you taking the dog and teasing them up.
Absolutely. That makes sense. I'm surprised they don't charge more. I guess the market just hasn't gotten there. Maybe it would in the future, but
don't give them any ideas, please. The books have enough edges on us.
Yeah, actually, we'll keep that on the down low. But we got 273, 274 up next. Pittsburgh at the LA Chargers. 6.5 here. Chargers laying at home. 41 the total. This is the Sunday nighter, Marco. A lot of tickets going to be written. You interested in the Steelers and Chargers?
Drew, you see my hat. You know I love the Steelers. I'm not wearing no Super Bowl hat this year with the Steelers. Yeah. I got to live in the past here with this one. And then as I said, Mason Rudolph, he got his bell rung yesterday. Like I said, he was out before he hit the ground. He was limp going to the ground, and he did not move. I was at bar watching the games yesterday with Brian Leonard, and I go, oh my God, he's dead. I mean, the way he hit the ground, I don't know that he's going to clear concussion protocol this week with the hit that he took. They brought in Delvin Hodges. This is a kid that was in camp this year, preseason. They loved him at Steeler camp this year. He had no shot of making this team. An undrafted rookie from Samford down in Florida College. But they loved what they saw out of him, and with having Dobbs on the roster, having Rudolph on the roster, there just was no place for him. And they were worried that somebody might, take a flyer and pick him up, but they didn't. And he was still out there. They were able to re-sign him whenever they traded Joshua Dobbs after the Miami traded for him when they needed a backup. And then this was was it Jacksonville? Jacksonville. Sorry, I got the Florida teams confused. But the Steelers felt that they didn't have to keep Dobbs with, a healthy Ben, and Rudolph won the job in preseason is the number 2. So they felt Dobbs was expendable, and then boom, that same week they lose Ben. So Steelers a little thin at the quarterback spot, very thin on experience at the quarterback spot. Now going to play LA off of an embarrassing loss last week. This is a revenge game for the Steelers last year. They played, ironically, on Sunday Night Football last year as well, and the Steelers just gave that game away. I look for a good effort out of Pittsburgh, but caution, the Steelers yesterday, losing that game in overtime to Baltimore was such a crucial game. As bad as the season start for the Steelers was, if they would have won that game yesterday against Baltimore, and if Cleveland would have lost tonight in San Francisco, believe it or not, the Steelers and Browns would have been tied for first place. Steelers would have had the tiebreaker over Baltimore, and they hadn't played Cleveland yet. And Steelers would have controlled their own destiny. Now, losing that game, they're, cemented in third place in the division, only ahead of Cincinnati. Doesn't look good. I don't know what the mental state's going to be. I can tell you that the media in Pittsburgh was very harsh on Tomlin after the game. They questioned his decision. They won the toss, and he elected to kick off in the overtime. Now, Baltimore did not score on the first drive, so it did work out. The Steelers got the ball at the 30, 35-yard line, and then just had to score, any type of score. But a lot of people question, why did you, give Baltimore the football first? Do you have no confidence in your offense? And that was just a lot of questions to be, asked. And things are not good in Pittsburgh right now. So I don't want to get involved in this one yet. I got to break this one down a little more as far as the the look ahead to what it opened up yesterday moved from 5.5 to 6.5. Where else are you going to move it? You have to move it up. Pittsburgh lost their quarterback. We don't know if he's going to play this week, and losing that game definitely hurt the Steelers' chances for the season. So you got to worry about motivation. So I understand the move. Does this get to 7? I don't think so, because of the fact that there are a lot of backers out there that still love to take the Steelers in the dog roll. They've had a great history in the dog roll. We saw what they did on Monday night. They were the favorite on Monday night against Cincinnati, but they were a dog yesterday. Depending on when you bet the game, if you bet 3.5, you got the win with Pittsburgh. If you bet a 3, you got to push. This is a game right now. Wait and see. We get some updates later in the week. Again, not to keep touting our show, Bet On It, but Wednesday we'll have a little more information, and that is a game that we will be breaking down because we do the Sunday and Monday night games in detail on the Bet On It show.
All right, good stuff, Marco. And yeah, that show, Bet On It, comes out on Wednesday. Check it out at the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Marco, are we breaking down the look ahead on next Monday nighters?
Yes, we're
okay.
we have the Monday night. We got Detroit and Green Bay, and this is one of those ones. Again, I talked about teams getting advantages. How do you come off your bye week and get a Monday night game? You've just had an entire week off, and now you don't play until Monday night, giving you an advantage, just a one extra day advantage over Green Bay, but they've had a week in an extra day. So definitely Detroit should be as prepared as you possibly can be. My question is, I absolutely do not understand the look-ahead line to what it is now. The look-ahead line was 6, okay? Detroit didn't play, so their stock couldn't go up or go down. They didn't play. Green Bay did play, and Green Bay won, and they were winning big. They end up winning by 10, makes it look closer than it was. And we talked about the garbage points that Dallas got in the second half. Why did this line move from the look-ahead line?
Yeah, why?
We go from 6 to 4.5. I don't understand it. Some injuries, there, and let me just update.
Injury is the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see the update on the injuries here real quick. And looking at it from yesterday, Devontae Adams, is listed as questionable. Again, he was a guy that was out. And looking at everything else, they got a bunch of guys listed, questionable, see what happens. But, no other big names new from, yesterday's game that would impact the line that it does. I don't understand the move. And so if you're looking from a value standpoint, the stock went up on Green Bay yesterday, if anything. If you want to take a pure value, the 4.5 would say there's value to the Green Bay side from the opener. But, Detroit, they've played better than people have expected. They find a way to lose tight games. They lost the Kansas City game. They played them super well, coming up just short. But if anything, that loss gets, that near loss doesn't have as much stock in it after Kansas City lost last night. So a good-looking loss gets a little tainted because Kansas City comes back and gets, manhandled by the Indianapolis Colts the following week. So I'm up in the air on it. Again, we'll break this down further on Bet On It because of being the Monday night game. But I don't understand going from 6 to 4.5. We have seen it move back to 5 at several books, and that makes more sense. But again, 5.5, it's the same number in the NFL. It's a dead number, doesn't mean anything. Once you get past that 4, the 5 is just dead. Obviously, if this gets to 6, it becomes a different situation. And I would think that public-wise, when we get to Monday, the books will need Detroit because people just bet, Aaron Rodgers blindly, the public. And they'll also need the under on Monday night because it is a primetime game with Aaron Rodgers. They're not betting the unders, I can tell you that.
He's Marco D'Angelo on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. I am Drew Martin on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Check out sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. $9 Monday. You can get Marco D'Angelo's Monday Nighter for just $9 right now. Also extended packages. Check it out for huge savings there long term. Guys, I will be back tomorrow stepping in for Prez as well. Prez will be back on Wednesday. We got the college football show tomorrow with Dave Koken and Teddy Covers and myself breaking down college football. Marco, anything you want to throw out before we shut this down?
No, obviously you said about the Monday night game. I also have a baseball play in action tonight. It is on the night game, the Yankees and the Twins. You can check that out. That's available for $9 as well. And then just check out our YouTube channel all week long. Stuff from the studio on Wednesdays, and you guys pumping out the content daily, Drew, and you've got several podcasts that you do over at Memo. Give a shout out to the other stuff that you're doing. I mean, every day you got something cooking over there. I know every time I try to get you out of the condo here in Vegas, you're busy and working. We got to get you out to have a little bit of fun.
I need to, I guess. And I'll tell you, Marco, the weather here in Vegas is just amazing. It's like 70, sunny, pretty much 90% of the days out here. I don't know what everybody's talking about Vegas weather not being good. It's beautiful, at least this time of year. So yeah, I need to get out a little bit more. But guys, definitely check out sportsmemo.com. We do the daily podcast, NFL, college football, even throwing up some MLB and hockey as well. So check out the WagerTalk YouTube channel. All of it is posted there. Check it out. So guys, we'll be back tomorrow. College football on the betting edge. Until then, best of luck. Thanks to Marco for the time, and check out his play at wagertalk.com. Best of luck, guys.